We're being joined by Kansas Governor Sam Brownback, and we're looking at the state of Kansas agriculture. Well, Governor, as we know, wheat harvest is just about wrapped up around the state, and probably varying reports, some good, maybe some not so good. But right now, spring or fall crops look pretty good. What are you hearing? What are you seeing as you travel around the state looking at agriculture in Kansas?
Well, we're finally getting some rain. We hadn't been getting any rain for a long period of time, and that has hurt us obviously a lot. But we're getting rain. Some areas around Dodge City got 10 inches in June. Of course, that was maybe not the time period they were actually hoping for it with what happened in the wheat harvest, but crops look great. The agricultural trajectory of this state looks excellent. The expansion of the dairy industry has really been a shot in the arm in a lot of areas, and now we're getting the processing plants associated with that industry. And then just the world's ability to pay for food has increased so substantially that we're getting more demands for the food products. We're the #1 state for prime farmland in the United States, total quantity of it. And it's kind of like it's a good time to be Kansas, as our stuff is moving forward. Our energy industry that's also in the rural areas, whether that's oil and gas or wind or ethanol, all of them really doing quite well. It's a good time to be Kansas.
You have a history, of course, in agriculture from years now. Did you ever think we'd see cattle prices where they are? This is great for the Kansas economy, has to.
Oh, it is. It is, because cattle are 60% of the ag industry, and that I may be a little low even on that. It is a huge portion of it. It scares me sometimes, when you drive by some of these feed yards and you see the animals out there, and you're thinking how much capital is walking around that yard because of the price of those, what beef is bringing now. But this is a big time for us. And in our future, Ken, what we're going to have to do is produce more agricultural products with less demand on the resource base. So it gets complicated, but you've got a lot of technology coming in, a lot of capital coming into the field, a lot of new thoughts and ideas that I think really hold a bright future for it.
Talk about agriculture. I have to ask, our neighbors to the west, Colorado, have a new crop. Is that something you're interested in growing the Kansas economy?
I don't think so. They're having quite a few problems with that too. We're having quite a few problems with their new crop from what we're seeing in law enforcement activities in the state of Kansas. So that's not something I'm interested in.
Good. We're talking with Governor Sam Brownback about the state of Kansas agriculture. You're watching the Kansas Ag Report.
This segment brought to you by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Farmers Insurance, your best protection against the unexpected. Call Agent Dan Key at 785-408-5459. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. Blue River Traders, the finest selection of Western-style furniture for your home. BlueRiverTraders.com.
We are talking with Kansas Governor Sam Brownback. Well, Governor, as your career in being in Congress, being in the U.S. Senate, and now Governor, you have seen all sides of government regulations. Some good. Many in agriculture think those that are going on right now are quite unusual. Let's talk on a couple of them. One, the lesser prairie chicken, and it put Kansas right in the bullseye.
Lesser prairie chicken has just been a disaster. It's a wrong move by the federal government. It's not necessary. And we've got a problem with prairie chickens because we didn't get any rain. So this year we get some rain and our population's up 20%. And I'm going, now what changed so radically over last year that our prairie chicken population is up 20%? Did we have a whole bunch more land that was zoned out of agriculture, energy production? Was this or that? No, we got some rain. And that's what I've been telling the federal officials about. And on top of that, they've been cutting back CRP acreage, which if you want to develop habitat, that's one of the great things you can do is support CRP. So I really think they have taken on the wrong target at a bad time. And it scares a lot of other places because there's a lot of other places that have a prairie chicken or a grouse type of bird that's in a similar status to the lesser prairie chicken, that they could expand these zones over huge tracts across western part of the United States.
So really the key is to continue to talk with those federal officials and tell them or use sound science so they can hopefully make a correct decision.
Well, you got to talk to them, but then we've also sued them, and we want to do a propagation program. We used to raise lesser prairie chickens as a state of Kansas in the 50s. We were down in one of our reports, we were down to 2 flocks after the Dust Bowl, one in Meade and one in Clark County of lesser prairie chickens. No habitat, no rain. When that comes back, the prairie chicken came back.
Another thing that has really kind of taken a life of its own, not only affecting agriculture, but anybody that's really around to use this water, is the EPA and their proposed new definition of waters of the United States. And that has a huge impact on states' rights and on business in general.
We have to fight this one to the hilt. If the EPA is able to basically define any body of water, including puddles and ponds, as waters of the Americas that they're entitled to regulate, they're going to be in everything. And I think this is really one we just have to go to the hilt. And if it's in lawsuits, pushing back, whatever the rate and way that we can do this, because this is a inherently state issue, water. And we fight about water amongst ourselves. We've litigated against Colorado 3 times on water, or litigated against Nebraska on water, because this is about the water rights of Kansans, and that goes broadly. And I think we have to be very aggressive, because if you ever let the federal government get a foothold in this, we will live to regret that day. And that's why we're pushing so strongly back on the federal government taking on this broader definition of what water is.
And there's so many other issues, I'm sure, with regulation. Talk about being governor. Is it as frustrating as it was when you were in the Senate trying to stop these?
No, because you can do a number of things as governor. And then having been in the federal system, I can see ways that you can push back, and that's what I do a lot of.
Very good. Governor, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken.
Governor Sam Brownback has joined us. I'm Ken Rogers for AgView. You're watching the Kansas Ag Report.